Hey everyone, welcome back. In this video, we shall create a login form using HTML and CSS. And if you're new to web development, I suggest you take my series on the introduction to HTML and CSS so you can follow properly throughout this video. To create a login form, the first thing we shall do is to create a folder on our desktop, and in the folder we create an IMG folder where we shall store all our images, and create a CSS folder where we shall store our index.css file. Meanwhile, in the parent folder, which is the login form folder here, I have my HTML file, which is called form.html. Now let's head over to VS Code and start writing some code. Here in VS Code, to open the folder, you come over to File, select Open Folder, then go to Login Form, which is the name of my folder. Select Folder, and the folder is open. Currently, we have nothing in our HTML file and nothing in our CSS file, so we shall write everything from scratch. The first thing to do is create a boilerplate, and here we have our boilerplate. Now let's change the title of our website. Let's call it login form. Save that. The next thing to do, let's link our CSS file with our HTML file. And to do that, you come beneath the title tag, we say link, you press enter, and you say ./CSS and form.css. Then let's set a type attribute to text/CSS, and that's how to link our CSS file with our HTML file. Now let's set a font family for our website, and to do that I shall be using Google Fonts as the API for my fonts. Now let's head over to Google Fonts, font.google.com. Now let's search for Poppins font. Love this font. Let's select that. One family selected. Grab this link, copy that link, and you paste it here beneath your CSS link. Now let's save that, and also come over here, come back here, copy the font family and head over to CSS and paste that in the body selector. For the body selector, let's set everything. Let's set the padding to 0 and the margin to 0. So let's run a test and say h1 hello world Migrant solutions. Let's save this, head back to our browser and see what we have. To check what we have in our browser, you go over to the folder, you right click on the HTML file, open with, and select Google Chrome. Now you can see what we have. The font family has changed. This is not the default font family in our browser. So we have Hello World Migrant Solutions, and that's perfect. Now let's move over to creating our login form. To do that, let's head back to our VS Code. Let's get rid of this. The first thing I shall be creating is a section with a class of form section. My class attribute is set to form section, and also to mention, the value of this class attribute is not a default value. You can call it whatever you want to. Let's move over to the next line. Let's create an image tag with a source attribute set to person.png. I have this image in my image folder already. Let's head over to my folder so you see what's in my image folder. I have two images, person.png and cray.jpe. Now, in my CSS folder, I have my CSS file, form.css. Let's head back to the VS Code. After that, let's create a form tag with a method attribute set to post and an end type attribute set to multi-paths /form -data. And let's close that. Now let's declare our first label using the paragraph tag, and that's the username. Let's set our input field, the type of username, a name set to username, and a placeholder set to username. Now let's close that. Remember, the input tag is a self-closing tag, same as the image tag. They are not container tags. Now let's set the second label using the paragraph tag also to password. It's the input tag, the type attribute set to password, a name attribute set to password, and a placeholder attribute set to password. Now let's close that. Now, when we have our login form, when we input our username and our password, the next thing to do is to submit those credentials. And to do that, we need a button tag to help us do that. Let's scroll down. Still in the form tag, let's create a button tag with a type of submit. Then let's say login. That's all for the button tag. The next tag we shall create is a forgot password hyperlink. So we shall be using the anchor bracket to create this hyperlink. In case the user has forgotten their password, they have to click on this link so they can reset their password. And to do that, let's say a href. For now, we shall be setting it to nothing. So we just put the £sign there and set a class attribute of forgot password. And that's it. So just say forgot password, and that's it right there. There are some formattings we have to do in this file, but for now let's view what we have in our file in the browser. So to do that, you head over to the browser and you refresh the page. We have the image file here, we have the username label, the username field, the password label and the password field. We have the login button and the hyperlink in case the user forgets their password. So let's head back to our VS Code and do some formattings. I want this login button to come down to a new line, so I can do that using the break tags. So I come over here, just say BR and save that. Let's go back and refresh our page, see what we have. The login button is beneath the password field right now. So let's head back to our VS Code and let's also make the forgot password link go beneath the button tag also. We have to use the break tag. Save this. Let's refresh our page to see what we have. Perfect. The next thing we shall do is head over to our CSS file and style this page so we can have a beautiful login page. So for now, this is all the HTML code we need for our login form. Let's head over to our CSS file. In our body selector, let's put the background image. I set that to URL. Let's go to the img directory, the img folder. Let's save this and let's view this in our browser. Now let's refresh our page to see what we have. As you can see, this is our background image, but we have to make this look better than it looks now because we have the image repeating itself over and over, 1 2 3 4, so that doesn't look good. Let's get back to our CSS file and let's set the background size to cover. Set this to cover, and let's set the background position to center. Then I think we should set the font size quite big, to 13px. Now let's view what we have in our browser and see the effect of all of these CSS properties. Let's head over to our browser. Let's refresh. As you can see, the image appears just once and it's like spreading all over our browser once. Now let's style our form. Let's select the form section class, which is in our section tag here, the form section class. And to select a class in CSS, you use the dot notation and say form section. And let's set the height to 320px. Let's set the width to 400px. Let's set the background color. Let's set the background color to black. Let's set the color to white. And also, I think let's set the margin top to 100px. Let's set that and see what we have now. Let's save this and see what we have in our browser. Let's go back to our browser. Let's refresh our page. As you can see, this is what we have currently in our browser. Now let's get back to our VS Code. And let's set the margin left to 500 pixels. And let's set the box sizing to border box. Let's set the padding also. Let's add some padding to our file, 50px and 10px. Let's go back to our browser and see what we have. This is what we have currently. That's cool. The next thing we shall be styling is this image here. So to style this image, let's get back to our CSS file. This image has no class attribute for now. So to style this image, I would want us to set a class attribute with a value of image class so we can style this image. So to do that, I'd say class image class, save that, head back to my CSS file, and I'll say image class, and I'll say border radius, set that to 50%, and I'll set the height 70 pixels, and I'll set the width to 70 pixels also. I also set the position to absolute, set the margin top to -80 pixels, and I'll set the margin left to 150 pixels. Let's see how this works out for us. Let's go back to our browser, refresh our browser to see what we have. Okay, this is not looking bad at all. So the next thing I shall be doing is I actually want this form box right here to have some curved edges, not just the box edges. So to do that, we shall apply a border radius property to our form section. So let's go back to our form section here. Let's say border radius. Let's set that to 20 pixels and see what we have. So let's refresh our browser. See, that's perfect. Now, the next thing I want to do is I want to make the whole black space here to be a little bit transparent. To do that, let's head over to the body selector and apply some opacity to our element. So let's head back to CSS. Let's go to the body selector here. Let's say opacity, and let's set that to 0.8. Let's save this. Let's refresh our page to see what we have. As you can see, our black space is now transparent. The next thing to do, we have to style our labels and our fields with our button tag and the forgot password hyperlink. To make it look better, let's head over to our CSS and let's style that. To do that, let's say form. Let's select the paragraph tags in our form. Let's say margin left. Let's say margin left for 150 pixels. So let's save this. Let's go back to our browser to see what we have. And that's it right there. So let's say form input. And let's set the margin left to 100 px. Let's see what we have in our browser. That's coming together. Let's set the height to 30 px. And let's set the border radius of our input field to 5 px. Let's refresh our page to see what we have. That's not looking bad. The next thing we shall be working on will be the button tag. So to do that, we'll say form space button. That's us selecting the button tag. So let's say height. Let's set the height to 30 px. Let's set the width to 80 px. Let's set the margin left property to 150 pixels. Let's set the margin top property, to 20 pixels. Let's refresh our page to see what we have. Not looking bad at all. The next thing to style here is the forgot password link, which is just staying on the left side of the form. So we have to bring it here and make it align evenly with the whole items on our form. So to do that, let's select the forgot password item with our forgot password class. So as you can see, we set a class attribute with a value of forgot password. So let's select this class in our CSS file by saying form, sorry about that, let's say form space forgot password. Let's put that in. Let's set the margin left to 140 px. Let's say text decoration color. Let's set the text decoration color to white. Let's refresh our page to see what we have first. So as you can see, the text decoration color, the line under the forgot password link here is now white, but we don't want a line there so it doesn't look amateur. So let's take the line off by just saying text decoration. Let's set this to none. So with this, you can take this off. Let's save this. There's no line there. So let's set the color of the text, which is color, to white. Let's save our file and refresh our browser. So that's what we have right there. The next thing we shall be doing is creating some spaces between these elements. So let's create some space between the login button and the forgot password link. So to do that, let's go to the button tag and set a margin button of, let's say, 15 or 20 pixels. Margin button, let's set that to 20 pixels. Let's refresh our page to see what we have, and that's cool. There is one quick fix on our form that I want to point out. When we hover on the login button, the cursor doesn't give us a pointer effect like this. You can see this person's hand saying, "Did you forget your password?" Click right here. So we want an effect on our cursor when anyone hovers on this button. So to do that, let's go to our button tag in CSS and let's set our cursor to pointer. Let's save that. Let's refresh our page and come over here. You can see. For now, if you haven't watched my beginner's tutorial on HTML and CSS, the link to that tutorial is in the description. Click that link and watch that video so you can follow up on what we just did right here. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, don't forget to share. And if you've not subscribed, don't forget to subscribe.